Now that we have our Fresh Store Builder software installed, we are ready to go with getting our site prepared for construction. The main thing we need to do at this point is to prepare the public side of the website, to tidy things up a little bit, to get things looking the way we want it to. And this can also involve the overall design of your site as well. Now, to start with, if you go to Tools and change parameters, you're going to end up on this page that you see on my screen here. This should be a page that you remember, because oftentimes when you can't find a setting that you're looking for, this is one of the two pages that there's a pretty good chance you might be able to find it on. One of the main things you'll likely want to do when you're first getting your website set up is to get it connected with some type of traffic program, like Google Analytics being the most common. So if you go and generate code in Google Analytics, you can then come over here and paste that code into the header or the footer code section right here. These two boxes will be output on all pages throughout your site. Now, if you happen to be a little more advanced with web design, you can also enter in custom CSS coding into this bottom box. Now, in the next class, when we are actually creating pages on the site, I have two code generators that I'm going to be giving you guys, and it's going to give you HTML code and CSS code. This is actually where you're going to come back to add in that CSS coding, just as an example of how this is used. Now, one of the other things that you will likely want to go and take a look at here when you're first getting started is the store settings page. On this page, you have a lot of general things like the name of your website, where emails are sent to and from when people go to the contact page on your site, for example. If you don't provide anything here, then those emails simply may never reach you. Other aspects of the site, though, things like this one right here, show footer powered by Fresh Store Builder. You may have noticed in the bottom of my site here, it says powered by Fresh Store Builder, and it's a link to the Fresh Store Builder website. Well, this is going to be essentially an outgoing link that you have throughout all the pages of your site. And that can actually harm you with search rankings. Not necessarily that it would be anything drastic, but any outgoing link power that you're giving away for really no good reason in terms of it being relational to what your website is about, then you are kind of doing something counterproductive to what the purpose of your site is. So with that said, you will likely want to turn this off here. Once I turn that off, it then instantly disappears from my public website. Now the next thing I want to do is to go to this page. This is the template options page. If you go to template and template options here, you can reach this page that I'm on. And this page has a number of different sections to it, but the actual template options tab here has a fairly extensive amount of options, and these are also options that you will likely want to get back to at some point while you are building your site. So remember tools and change parameters and template options. These are going to be your two most important pages in terms of settings and options and things, especially if you can't find it elsewhere. It's probably on one of these two pages. Now on this page, there are a couple of initial things that you want to take care of after you have set up your site. They have options to change into other languages. There's at least a few other languages that are available there, I believe. Any of these things that you want to change, you can just click on here or click on the little edit icon on the side. As far as design of your site goes, this template skin gives you a choice of sticking with your current template. So you're not actually changing away from the fluid template, and the fluid template is likely what you would want to be using if you are also going to use the WordPress theme and plugin and have both Fresh Store Builder and WordPress running on the same domain name and interconnecting those sites. Well, even though you want to stick to that theme, you can change the overall look of it in terms of essentially the color design to it by clicking on one of these different skins and saving the option. Now in just a little while, I will be revisiting this page for these two options right here. These are the two options that control the main menus on your website. This is going to be the menu at the top and the menu at the bottom in this gray bar. So we have top navigation links and bottom navigation links. Now, if you want to change the header of your site, right up here at the top, you notice that you have whatever you have set the name of your site to be. However, if you wanted to use an actual logo image, maybe you have some kind of a banner or logo that you've created for your site, and you wanted to have that up there instead, you can choose the header style here, switch over to the custom header image, and it will then display an image up in the header. Personally though, on a lot of these Amazon affiliate sites, unless it is a site that I really plan on expanding, or maybe the site becomes fairly profitable for me after I've built it, and then I decide, okay, I'm going to continue expansion on this site and make it even bigger. Unless that's really the case, I will generally avoid putting my own logo up there and just stick with a keyword phrase, essentially. That actually has search engine ranking benefits to it as opposed to using a logo. However, once you can get a fairly established site and you have a decent amount of content on it, a decent amount of traffic, and even things like social interaction on your site, smaller details like that become less relevant, and you may be more concerned about trying to, look a little more professional at that point. So if you do decide that you want to put a logo up there, if you go to the Images tab here, you can simply upload a new logo image here. This is actually going to be displaying with the standard header display, which would be more of like a small logo because you have other stuff going on over in the side. And then the custom header image that I was showing you to switch to over here in the header style, this is going to be for a much longer one, something that takes up that entire space. Now there are also a lot of options here that will end up controlling something called a homepage widget. And this is something I will be revisiting in the next class as well. But in the future though, if you're using things like the slideshow, the bestsellers, the special offers, widgets, or if there are just certain aspects about the home page, the custom HTML widgets, for example, general settings like the number of products that are listed on category pages, whether to show product counts for the categories, other things of that nature, and also fine-tuning exactly what is going on your product pages as well. You have all of these product settings. Also something I will revisit in a little more detail in a later class. However, I wanted to continue on down this page here to get to this last little section. You have all of these options here, link to your, and then they have different kinds of social networking pages. If you decide to run a social networking page for your individual website, you definitely would want to add your links to those networks here. Personally, with a lot of the smaller Amazon niche sites that I'm building, I'm generally looking to maybe build a 20-page website or so, and then I oftentimes won't return to that website for possibly a year or something like that. I'll just let it sit there and work for me. So I oftentimes will not create social networking accounts for each of my individual websites. It has to be something that's more popular, something I'm more involved with on a regular basis, so I can have that social interaction. Otherwise, those social networking accounts will likely just sit there. So before you run out and create social networking accounts for your niche site, consider that. Consider whether you'll actually do anything with it and keep it active and try to engage people. Well, I added a Facebook page onto here. If you look up at the top of my page, up in the corner, you see this little mail icon. This is actually to reach the Contact Us page of this site. But once I add in social networking links, they then start to show up beside this. So they'll stretch out this way depending on how many you have added in. So then people can easily access your social networking accounts from these icons up in the header. Now, there's also this CSS options tab. Once you have picked a skin for your template up in the template options, you can then fine-tune how your site actually looks in terms of things like colors, especially. And that is actually done through these CSS options. However, looking at a big list of them like this can actually be a little daunting. You might not know exactly what aspect of your site they're really talking about. So they do have this visual editor. If you go to Template and Visual Editor, you'll get to actually see your live website. And then over here on the left, you can click on Customize Elements, and it will expand it to show you different aspects of your site. So if you wanted to change things like the top menu bar color, the text color, other aspects of your site, you can just click on one of these, change background color or border color, whatever the case may be. It's actually pretty easy to do. And then you instantly get to see this change take effect on your live website. Now, changing your overall design of your site is not really the most important thing, especially when you're just starting out building a site. But there are some cases where using simply a certain color scheme might fit better with what your niche is about. For example, some colors are psychologically known to induce certain kinds of feelings. You also have other niches that might be blatantly kind of more geared towards certain colors than others. As an example, the gardening niche. An easy color for a gardening related website would obviously be green. As far as the colors go, if there is no obvious choice, then you might be able to take the psychological route or simply choose a color that you prefer. Actually, like the Wikipedia page for color psychology on color preference and associations between color and mood, I believe it was called. Try looking that up, color psychology. You can learn a little bit that might actually help you out with particular niches that you're trying to target. So now I want to move on to starting to get some of the rest of this stuff set up on the actual public-facing site, so we can then be prepared to start creating our content. One of the main things that you're going to need to do is set up your menus. However, you will likely end up wanting to have links in your menu for pages that simply don't exist yet. Now, what I generally do is take the main categories that I have decided to target on my website. If you remember back to the site planning episode where I get my keyword phrases and I organize them into different types of topics, I get categories such as special occasions, and then I have a number of different other pages that are going to be organized under that category. So I would have then birthday and wedding and so on and so forth. Well, I will then have links to those main category pages up here in my menu, so people can quickly access that and then browse through the subpages of the rest of my website. So beyond the category pages, I'll put a link for my homepage and a link for another page called the About page that's included in Fresh Store Builder. Well, the category pages do not actually exist. I'm not referring to these product categories that Fresh Store Builder uses either. The category pages are actually pages that I'm going to need to create myself. But I don't really want to worry about loading them with content at this very moment. So what I'm more interested in doing here is simply creating some placeholder pages for now. So I'm going to start out, and I mentioned special occasions. I can take the short version of that, or if I happen to know what I already want to use for my title, something more creative, like you can see my couple of examples here. Special occasions are great for themed cake pops. So I could go for my longer title, or I could stick with my shorter title for now. Either way is quite okay, because we will end up revisiting this page in the future so we can actually build it. For now though, we're just putting the title and the link title here. And then over on SEO and Meta, we also want to put a page name. The reason why we want to put a page name is because we want to make sure this page name is going to be nice and short and meaningful, especially if we go for a more descriptive title, something like this. We don't want this to get converted into what the URL for the page is going to be. We want it to be short and sweet. cakepopmolds.com/special occasions. So with these three things in place now, I'm going to save my page. And I'm going to continue on and do that same thing for all of the additional categories that I want to create on my website. However, I do not need to create one of these pages for my product category. I'm going to use the built-in Fresh Store Builder system to take care of that for me. So I just need to create the categories for the more informational groups of pages that I'm going to have on this site. once you have saved your page here in Fresh Store Builder, you're actually going to be back on the same page again, but everything will be blank. That's quite okay. This actually allows you to simply continue on and create your next page. So the additional page that I'm going to create is called Information and Tutorials. I will end up doing a more descriptive title later on. For now, just like I did the previous time, I want to go short and sweet. Now, I'm even going to shorten my page name for this one. Instead of doing information-tutorials, I'm going to do info-tutorials, just to make it even shorter, because we really don't want this to be a long URL. These might be URLs that people end up sharing, possibly bookmarking or writing down. So we want to make them something that's even easy to remember. So now that I have these two category pages created, these are actually the only two that I'm going to be creating on my website, at least with this initial round of building up the website to its roughly 20-page state. So now that I have my main category pages in, I can actually proceed with building my menus. So if you remember before, I said we go to Template, Template Options, and then into the Template Options tab. And we will find the sections for the top and bottom navigation links. I'm going to start out here with the top navigation links to show you how this works. And I'm going to create my top menu. Well, over here on the left, we have all of the pages that are built into the website. The plus will add the page to my menu, and the arrow link here will actually show me that page on my site. So I have all of these pages that exist already on my site, simply because these are all of the default pages that Fresh Store Builder creates for me. A lot of these are essential pages that you need on your site, but going through and manually creating them every time really just involves a lot of busy work. Things like privacy policies, terms and conditions, contact us pages. So it takes care of all this stuff for you, and it's already in the system. So all we really have to do is to add in all of our different pages. So we have the home page here. You can see it's called My Store. We also have the category pages that I just created, information and tutorials, and special occasions. I then want to also have the About Our Site page on there. You can see the About Us page is just a generic page that also includes the Amazon affiliate disclaimer. This is something that I generally build on WordPress websites that I create. So it's nice to see that on there, and I usually add that on to my top menu as well. Finally, the last category page essentially that I want to add here is for my products. This is the All Products page. I'm going to click on the plus button here. The All Products page, which you can also see linked from the sidebar, will be listing everything from all the categories, but it's only going to show 18 per page. And then it will also have content here that I can create myself. So I can turn this into a custom category page, but it'll be a page that is for my products instead. Now, if you ever need to delete anything, they have the little red icons on the side, or you can also click and drag and drop items here to change the order that they're actually going to show up on our site. So after you click on save, you can then return to your site and see these pages showing up. Now, if you'll notice here, my all products and the My Store page, they're using terms that I wouldn't necessarily want to be using. All products is very generic and definitely sounds very salesy. So you would want to increase the likelihood that somebody would actually click on that. And so what you can do is to actually edit these pages. You don't have to do this now. You can do this when we get to the next class and are actually creating the content for these pages. However, I just wanted to point out to you where this is actually coming from. This is the link title. All of these link title boxes that you're filling out for the different pages that you're creating, it's what would be used in a menu. Or if it is a product listing, wherever the products are shown, it's what will be shown there along with the product. So for this example, what I want to do is get a little more specific with my link title. And ultimately, I'll end up doing this with my title and the content of this page too. But that's going to be coming in the next class. For now, I'm just trying to get the actual design and structure of my site tidied up and ready to go so I can then just focus on my content creation. So ultimately, I'm going to be offering cake pop molds and various related supplies to that. So I could call my link title Molds and Supplies. I save my changes. I can then go back, take a look at my site, and you can see that the All Products link is now changed to say Molds and Supplies. Now the My Store or the home page is yet another one of these pages. I'll typically change it to say Home instead of My Store. For the title, I'll end up using my keyword phrase, but then I'll try to get a little more descriptive with it. Something like cake pop molds, decorating tools, and other supplies. It's relational to my niche. It uses my main keyword phrase, but it then expands on that keyword phrase. So saving my changes once again and viewing my site, it's starting to look a little more like a normal website now. If you happen to be connecting your site up to the WordPress theme and plugin for Fresh Store Builder, and you're going to be running a WordPress site separately on the main part of the domain name, or maybe Fresh Store Builder is in the main part of the domain. So one or the other will end up in a subdomain or a subdirectory or something of that nature. Well, you need to make sure whatever ends up as your home page, you actually call it your home page. So if this will be the actual home page of your site, you can call that home. Otherwise, you might need to actually create a customized link that you put up into that menu. If you go over here on the left, you can go to custom URL. Let's say this site, which it is, running in a actual folder of my domain name. So I could still visit the actual domain name itself. That would really be my homepage, not the homepage of this store. So this would be in the case of you're running a WordPress site on your main domain and you're adding on Fresh Store Builder in a subdirectory or possibly in a subdomain. You then might need to do something like create a home link for the base URL. And then what is called the home page here in Fresh Store Builder would not actually be the home page of your entire website. Maybe Fresh Store Builder is just going to be the product pages on your site. So you could call this something more reminiscent of what I did with the All Products page. It really just kind of depends on what it is that you'll be doing with Fresh Store Builder and whether or not you're using it alongside of a WordPress site. So with that said, using Fresh Store Builder alone, you can just go the standard route, point home to your home page that's actually in Fresh Store Builder here, and it'll point to the correct destination. Then we have our categories, our product page, the All Products page here, and the About Our Site page. So now we need to take care of the bottom nav links. This is found right below the top nav links, and it still works the exact same way. So here, I like to add on privacy policy, terms and conditions, sitemap, and contact us. Now, if you live in Europe, you may need to also worry about the cookie consent policy, just as an example, or there may be other pages or information that you decide you want to include on your site, but maybe it's not important enough, or maybe it's not something you want enough focus on for it to be in the top. You just simply add it to your bottom nav link. So our site is beginning to take shape now. Beyond the actual content of our page here, the only other thing we really haven't messed with is the sidebar. Well, in Fresh Store Builder, they call this a sidebox. If you go to content, you can view sideboxes or add a new sidebox, or even sort them. Well, I want to go to the view sideboxes so we can look at what is already in this system. We have a number of different options, and you can see that some of them are enabled already and some of them are actually disabled by default. Even though search and basket are disabled, They're still showing up on my site because they're up here. I believe this has to do with the header style in the template options. But if you're going for a full-length banner, you might need to drop the search bar and your shopping cart over here in a side box. So to do something like that, you would simply go in and edit these and enable these two particular side boxes. Now, other side boxes you might want to disable. For example, if you're not going to run an email newsletter with your site, then you wouldn't need to be using the exit pop-up with the newsletter in it, and you certainly wouldn't want to be using that in the sidebar either. So if you click on newsletter or the edit icon, you will get to this page. This page, typically, if you wanted to only show a side box on certain pages of your site, but exclude it from other pages, you can use these boxes right here. So maybe I only wanted to show the newsletter thing on my home page, but no other pages of my site. I could just select home page here and click on Save Sidebox. However, I actually want to remove this completely because I'm not going to be running a newsletter with this particular website. So I'm just going to turn it to disabled, and I'm going to save my sidebox, and then I can return to my live website and see that it's actually gone. So now our website looks in pretty good shape. It's starting to look like a normal website, and we just need to begin building content onto it. And that's actually going to be what I'll be going over in the next class with you guys. For now, though, one closing thought. If you ever want to mess with these side boxes in a little more detail, you have other ones here that are not necessarily displaying right away. Things like the product filters. They only end up showing up on the product pages of the site. Browse brands only shows up if you actually add manufacturer pages to your site. So there are some here that are kind of situational. You can also create your own side boxes right here or through the menu. Doing this, creating your own side box, you can do something simple like creating your own custom menu of page links, or you can do free HTML where you simply add your own coding in. It could be basic text, or it could be more complicated coding, especially if it's something that you're copying and pasting from elsewhere. For example, Facebook has all these different widgets, so you could put a news feed in the sidebar of your website, as an example. I also really like that you can control where the side boxes show up. So you could design a couple of side boxes for the informational pages of your website that would help to direct people to the actual product pages of your site where you're going to be earning money. It could also have direct advertisements where you actually promote an Amazon product in your side box. But maybe you only want to do that on your informational pages and not actually on your product pages. You can do all that kind of stuff with these easy controls. So this is a really nice and convenient system to use here. So before you actually move on to the next class and begin creating all of your content, get your site to a basic state here where everything looks how you want it to look. You don't want to have to worry about tidying up different features and changing colors and stuff like that once we proceed past this point. So get your site all prepared, and then we will continue on to actually build all the content for our website.